Mr. Estes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for organizing another round of field hearings. It's fitting that we're here today in the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library after Republicans passed the One Big Beautiful Bill. This historic legislation builds on President Reagan's legacy of lowering the tax burden on Americans so they can keep more of their hard-earned money. Through field hearings and tax teams, we spent hundreds of hours traveling the country to talk to Americans to gather their input. After years of work, the One Big Beautiful Bill will put America first, delivering immediate tax relief to small businesses, farmers, producers, and working families. Small businesses are critical to our economy and provide an honest living for Americans and their families. Ensuring our tax code is fair and encouraging growth is a priority to Republicans in Congress. A significant component of the One Big Beautiful Bill is the permanent extension and enhancement of the 20% small business deduction. With this deduction being made permanent, small businesses will be empowered to reinvest in their operations, hire more workers, and contribute to local economy. Small businesses will also benefit from the doubled small business expensing of $2.5 million because that will enable them to invest in their employees and grow their businesses. Part of ensuring generational growth in business, whether it's a shop in a small town or a family-owned farm in Kansas, we're making sure families aren't overburdened by taxes and government red tape. Our legislation also raised and made permanent the death tax exemption, which means family-owned businesses and farms will continue to be kept in the family instead of assets needing to be sold solely to pay taxes to the government. A key provision that Chairman Smith and I worked on was a permanent restoration of immediate expensing for domestic research and development, or R&D. Supporting American innovation and encouraging investment right here at home is critical. The R&D expensing provision expired in 2022, which discouraged businesses from investing in job-creating activity, and we saw a plummeting in the investment that was being made after 2022 expiration. Making this provision permanent will boost our economy and lead to more job growth. One of the things we can't lose sight of is that 3/4 of R&D spending are for wages. By giving companies certainty to invest in research here and in the United States, we'll see more manufacturing jobs and a stronger, more competitive America. Mr. Timmons, you've highlighted how critical innovation is to our manufacturers, especially given that they're responsible for 53% of all private sector R&D, even though they just make up 10% of the GDP. Can you speak on what kind of impact that has on the workforce? For instance, how many employees are you able to hire because of these investments in R&D?
Well, thank you for the question, Mr. Estes. I think innovation is one of the great competitive advantages that we have here in the United States. And when that provision expired a few years ago, to your point, we saw a reduction in investments in research and development. Why is that important? Well, China has a 200% research and development tax credit for the investments made in that area. And I know the work that Mr. Moran does on that committee, or on the select committee, we have some very serious concerns about being able to compete with China. China simply doesn't view the world the same way we do. So I was very pleased that through your work and others on the committee, we were able to get that credit renewed.
Thank you. Mr. Fulton, you've highlighted how the corporate tax rate and immediate expensing for research and development for equipment played a crucial role for Robinson Helicopter. Can you share your thoughts on how the new provision allowing immediate expensing of manufacturing facility costs will impact your company's growth and investment here in the United States?
Thank you for the question. Thank you for your question. These provisions all capture the core aspects of what a manufacturer must do to compete. We must innovate new technologies, develop production, and deploy production processes for those new technologies. And then that follows with construction of facilities that can house the production processes for those technologies and the workers to actually run those machines. So the provisions really reinforce a fully coupled research, manufacturing, and marketing pipeline that allows us to be globally competitive with a 100% American-made product.
Yep. Well, thank you. You know, without our work in Congress on the One Big Beautiful Bill, Main Street and rural businesses would have faced a 43.4% federal tax rate if the small business deduction expired at the end of this year. Now, small businesses across our nation will continue to operate and grow in their local community. With Republicans in Congress and President Trump back in the White House, businesses big and small are going to see growth in hiring, wages, and prosperity. We saw those results when TCJA was passed during President Trump's first term, and now in his second term, we've made many of those provisions permanent. As we move forward, we remain committed to cutting unnecessary spending, as we demonstrated with the first rescissions package last week. In tandem, the One Big Beautiful Bill's pro-growth policy, America is not only on the path to renewed strength, but will continue to be the very best place in the world to start, grow, and sustain a business. Thank you all for being here, and I yield back.